Hello everyone, let's talk citations. Today we will be looking at how to use the Google Docs citation tool to get accurate citations with MLA. On Google Docs, go to Tools, Citations, and you will see a sidebar appear on the right. Select MLA and then Add Citation Source. Now you can scroll down and add all the details you need to create a quality citation. Then this will be added to your citations list, which will allow you to easily cite this in text to help you stay organized as you write. And once you've completed the assignment, you can then use this tool to create a complete bibliography. So the first thing we need to know is what to do with all of these fields. These fields are these spaces for you to input information. So I'm going to show you how to use them to get the most accurate citations. The name field is usually fairly direct. You just put the last name in the last name box and the first and any remaining names in the first name box. But let's take a look at the most complicated example, which includes names with suffixes like junior or the second. MLA places the first author or contributor in reverse order, so last name, comma, first name. Every additional author, editor, translator, etc. is going to be written forward, first name and then last name. In order to get the Google Citations tool to accurately reflect this, you always start by pulling the last name into the last name field. For the primary contributor, put every remaining name, including suffixes if they have them, in the first name field. For additional contributors, you'll put the last name and any suffixes in the last name field, and then the first name and any additional names in the first name field. When you save the source, it will then have this accurate last name first format for the first author, and then first name last format for the additional authors. I like to skip the middle initial field and just include that in my first name when I write all remaining names. In the URL field, start by copying and pasting the URL from your browser. Delete the initial HTTP or HTTPS://. However, if a page has a DOI number, instead of the URL, you're going to put that DOI : and the number in this field. And then finally, Google is increasing their use of featured snippets, which add a fragment of the page text to the end of the URL. If you select a search result from Google and it takes you to a highlighted part of a page, chances are you're looking at a snippet. The way to know is to check the URL. When you see this set of symbols, octothorpe, tilde, followed by words separated by this %20 symbol, you're looking at a URL with a fragment on the end. So if you delete the octothorpe and everything that follows, then copy and paste test that URL, it should take you to that full page without the added clutter that is not relevant to your citation. The date fields are fairly straightforward. The publish day and access day are just going to be a number, 1 through 31. Months with more than 4 letters in the name are abbreviated with a period at the end of the abbreviation. So for example, July can be written out in full, whereas October would need to be OCT, period. And then the published or accessed year is a 4-digit number. Moving on to the edition field. Typically, this is where you will find the number of revisions a work has gone through. List the edition as an ordinal number, which is your number and a suffix. So you're not just writing 2, 3, 4, you're writing second, third, fourth in this edition field. If, for example, you have a 3rd edition book, you would write 3RD. The other way to use the edition field, we will go into more detail when we get to citing books, but you may use the edition field to put a web application for ebooks. Again, we'll get to that later, but then it would say Libby edition. The volume and number of volumes field will never be used together. You'll either use the volume field or the number of volumes field. You may not use either, but you'll never use both. So if you're citing volume 4 out of a 4-volume set, you would just write the number 4, and then Google will add the number before it, so your bibliography will reference volume number 4. In this case, it does not matter how many total volumes are in this book, so you'll skip number of volumes field. However, if you are using several volumes, say 2 or 3, I'm not going to add them all into this volume field, so instead, I'll skip volume and just list the total number of volumes in that collection. Finally, the page field can get a little tricky. In the full works cited, MLA wants to see a P for a reference to a single page number and a PP for a reference to a page range. When you add any letter or letter number combination, Google's going to put a P before it. If you put a range, so a number with a dash in between, it's going to put PP. In this range, it looks like it says read from page 12 backwards to page 8, but that's not what it's telling me. MLA asks that we remove repeated numbers. So in this case, I actually am going to be reading from page 12 to page 18, but that 1 in the tens place was repeated, so I don't want to include that even when I'm putting this into Google Citations. I would just do 12 through 8, and readers will know this is a reference to page 12 through 18. If you enter anything other than letter, number, dash combination, it's not going to put the P or PP. However, you can still add that. So for example, on a newspaper, if there are multiple pages, but they're not consecutive, so it says start at page A12 and then go to page A22 to finish this article, I'm going to add A12, the first page, and then a plus sign. But once I add that plus sign, Google doesn't know what to do with it. So I also have to add the PP in to say this is a page range. Other uses, this will also give you accurate results if you are, instead of page numbers, referencing paragraphs. You can write PAR or PARS and the range. For media with runtime that you're referencing, you can also include that here. In this case, that would be a runtime from 1 minute 4 seconds to 1 minute 31 seconds, because again, I cut out that one repeated minute. Or you can include the act, line, and scene separated by periods if you're referencing a play. If you enter any of these in there, it will put it in the correct spot, and once you're adding anything other than a letter or number, you gotta format it with the PAR or the time or whatever you need to do. Google will take your formatting and not add the page number to it. All right. That was beautiful work learning about the different fields you will encounter. So please join me for the next step. Let's look at how to actually put these fields to use in creating accurate citations. So even though Google has options for a bunch of boxes, you don't want to actually use them all. So let's look at how we actually will apply this in our next step.